Hello, everybody. Welcome to HBMA Live again. This is Kunal Jain. I am a HBMA board member, and I know we are not as consistent as we should be, but we do make sure that we have some amazing guests whom you really enjoy listening, and the solutions and services you get to hear from HBMA platform. It's consistent and you like those solutions. I'm going to introduce my guest, but before that, I want to talk to you a few minutes. So HBMA has an amazing conference coming up in September. We had our innovation workshop last month. Our next conference would be in September and in St. Louis. You're going to receive an email for registration, and this would be our national conference. So that's the one thing which is on the cards for HBMA. Those who don't know about HBMA, let me give you a little pitch about it. It's called Healthcare Business Management Association, one of the largest associations of medical billing and coding companies. It's one of the oldest associations as well. I have been an HBMA member for last 18 years since I started my own business. And it really helped me a lot into identifying new opportunities, connecting with the right type of vendors who can support into our business growth. And during that process, we meet a lot of our peers and people who actually support us by giving their advice. And most important, we build amazing friendships on this platform. So those who are not HBMA members, I would strongly encourage you to become HBMA member by going on our website. It's called hbma.org. Those who are already our members, welcome to the show. Another one. And today our guest is somebody who knows about financial side of our industry. Credit cards and using a credit card is something which is very popular for most last decade. I remember like we were not using credit cards for 5-6 years ago, and a lot of medical practices were not using it for almost like 6-7 years ago. But now almost every medical office you go to, you would find a credit card terminal machine. In last 5 years, this industry has drastically changed. And the difference which has come is more from physical side to a virtual side. Now, when you enter into the doctor's office, you see a doctor, you finish your services, and after that, you pay using your own Apple Pay, or you receive a text, you leave a feedback, and you pay your bill. So things have changed a lot in last 5-6 years, and especially in the fintech side. You must have seen a lot of new innovation happening. During this innovation side, we got to know about one of our HBMA corporate member and sponsor. And I had a very good conversation just before this with him. The company name is called Best Card. And we have somebody who has worked in this industry for over 10 years. His name is Tim Seffron. I'm going to invite Tim to have another wonderful conversation on our HBMA Live. So welcome, Tim. Thank you very much for joining.
Well, thank you for having me this afternoon.
Welcome to the show, Tim.
Good. Very glad to be part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have an amazing career in fintech and credit card merchant solutions, services. You work with two good companies. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and we'll see how this conversation goes.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I've actually been in the merchant payment processing industry for roughly 10 years now, coming on 6 years so far with Best Card. Best Card is a boutique payment processor. Part of the reason that I decided to move over to Best Card is because I share the same values as the owners, Mike and Dominic DiGiacomo. And part of that meaning is that we price our merchants competitively. We answer the phone. We have a real live person answer the phone when they call, and then just keeping their structure of what we promise initially throughout the length of the relationship. And by doing that and having those same values is kept me here for 6 years, and I've really enjoyed it.
That's fantastic. So you have seen an evolution in credit card industry. Like I still remember we used to have those dial pad physical machines, right? People used to punch numbers, used to connect telephone lines into it. And we still have those. A lot of these doctors' offices are still using those machines. What do you do when you enter into those offices selling your best card machine? How
That's
does this process of sales goes?
that's a great question. I actually see those as great opportunities because, like you had mentioned, there's been quite an evolution in our industry. It used to just be a terminal just sat there and connected via dial, and those are very dated. There's a lot of opportunity for those offices to really transition and create some efficiencies. So, a solution that we've implemented and we work with on a daily basis allows for the entire patient payment experience. And what that means is that we have the ability for those offices to create one-time in-person or over-the-phone payments. They can do recurring or patient payment plans. So they can put it there on a monthly, weekly basis and let it run securely without having to manually enter that transaction. One large piece through COVID was getting the offices the ability to accept payments on their website securely, so that when they weren't physically there and things were shut down, they could still receive those payments. And then lastly, like you had mentioned, creating the newest technology, the text to pay. So allowing offices to actually send out reminders and updates and those patients to make payments that way as well.
So why do you think when we talk about, so every time somebody talks about the credit card merchant account fees, if I receive a call from a bank or anybody, most people, the single most important question comes to their mind is, okay, what's the percentage you are charging? It's like somebody, when we go and seek out billing business from a doctor's, everybody asks, okay, how much, what percentage do you charge? So same thing when you compare the cost of using your solution versus other solutions. And if I make comparison last 10 years, no matter what company people used to use Visa directly, Stripe, tons of innovation happened in last 10 years. A lot of companies, a lot of solutions. All of this startup money in fintech has been pouring into this industry. How do you see in last 10 years the cost has come down? Cost has been pretty stagnant. I mean, I see everybody has been charging between 3 to 5%, 4%, sometimes 2%, 1%. I don't know. But most people, the industry standard says that 3% goes to Visa or MasterCard, no matter what kind of transaction you do. So what's your take on it?
Uh,
Help us understand this, because this is a jargon. I mean, we really want to see why somebody is paying 3 to 4% just to have a transaction.
that's a phenomenal question, and the cost is one of the biggest questions that we get on a daily basis. And the educational process is one thing that I think is extremely valuable. Trying to educate the merchant or the customer, just to let them understand and make a decision for themselves, and not be so confused by those merchant statements. To answer your question specifically, I do believe that the cost in our industry has actually increased. And a part of that increase is because everything is transitioned to an integration, whether it's a software, a CRM, an EHR, and EMR. They partner with a credit card processor like Best Card, and they drive that cost up. So when I get those merchant statements, I want to extract all the fees, whether they're going to Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or directly to the credit card processor they're working with, and try and educate them and point that out so that on a weekly or monthly or yearly basis, they're easily able to go to that statement and it doesn't feel like they're really deciphering or doing open heart surgery. They should be able to see what money is going where. And because, like you had mentioned, there's been such an increase in credit card usage, whether you're at a consumer or a business level.
My question is more like, but why 3%? Why Visa needs to be paid 3% for that?
That's a good question. It's all actually dependent upon the card that's used, whether it's a debit card, a credit rewards card, or business card. Visa actually states those rates, and they change a little bit every April or October. And it's all dependent
So all
upon.
of these rates are actually enforced by Visa or MasterCard. They decide.
Yeah. I'm glad that this is good conversation. About 98%, 99% of what's actually charged is going to the card brands, which is Visa, Mastercard, Discover, Amex. Our pricing model here at Best
So
Card
you
is
guys work on this 0.2% margin?
it's
Is that
all
what
it's
your
all
business model is?
it's all fractions of 1% actually. Yeah, we're all working on basis
How
points.
do you guys make money? Where is the business model then with this
That
kind of margins?
Yep, that's all. It's all based on the volume that our merchants are doing. So it's all fractions of 1%. That's what I talk about in the educational process. We'll say that we're going to charge you a quarter of a percent or a half a percent, and you can see that month over month and know that that's coming directly to us.
And plus all the innovation, all the new product development, all the innovation you guys have been putting and pouring money into. I mean, who's investing into all of this? I mean, it's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money that's out there, and it's a lot of technology. There's a lot that actually happens behind the scenes when the card is actually processed, when
Hmm.
it goes from the authorization platform to the issuing bank, and then when the money is sitting there to wait to be approved and then sent back into the merchant's account. There's a lot that actually is behind the scenes that is where everyone is taking a little bit off that transactional fee.
And you are telling me 98% of whatever you guys charge goes to Visa, Master?
At Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex. And again, they actually state those rates on their website. So you could go to visa.com, they're called interchange, and those rates would be there for you to view.
Did you guys ever try to contest it? Why it is same like for like many years? Why it's not changing?
Yeah, well, they're the card issuers, so they're the ones that are allowing for you to use that card and process that transaction. There's a lot of security and that there's a lot of
You know,
information.
I remember, I mean, there are some economies where they are bypassing. Are there any technologies which are bypassing Visa, Master, other than wiring the money? Is there any easy way for a patient to pay just bypassing debit card, credit card transactions?
Well, in terms of that, the merchant themselves, the one that's accepting their card, there is some new technology that's out there where you can, as the consumer, the merchant accepting the transactions, you could pass along the transactional cost. So the business owner or the merchant doesn't actually have to
Like,
take that all.
yeah, so the Venmo type of situation, what's the difference between Venmo and Joel, and how do you see them as your competitors?
Yeah, it's just it's a lot different. You need to utilize a credit card processor like Best Card as a business itself. It's not sustainable to use Venmo, to accept your payments on a monthly basis. But there are transactional fees to get your money once you've accepted that through Venmo as well, and that's the same transactional fees you'd have through someone like Best Card.
Okay, wow. So there is a transactional fee no matter what software solution you guys go through.
Correct.
Now,
For it to take for it to take the loop to be deposited into your account, it does touch a few different places, and that's where that transactional fee comes into place. And that's why everyone should sit down and have a little educational seminar to understand what's actually happening when you're charged, like you mentioned, 2, 3, 4%. What goes to the company that's processing it? What goes to Visa, Mastercard, Discover? What goes to the issuing bank? There's a lot that goes on.
so
That's
bank also makes money in this.
correct. Yep.
So is that the reason why these banks are buying credit card merchant accounts companies and services, and that's where they are trying to collaborate? So you guys also work with any particular bank, or you work with?
We do have a couple bank partnerships. The majority of the banks that offer credit card processing aren't actually the credit card processor themselves. They're working with a third party like Best Card to provide those services.
So tell me a little bit about Best Card. Is it a card or it is a service?
It's a service. Yep. So when you process a transaction, when you're a business owner and you want to accept credit cards, you would work with someone like Best Card. We're allowing you to accept all types of transactions, whether it's a debit card, credit card, business card. whether you want to accept it in person physically and use that chip card or Apple Pay or tap to pay with the new credit cards or pay on the website. We're providing that
Text
service.
to pay, like I want to have, my patients to pay by card, and I send a text normally. Now, what we do as a billing company, we want to be set up like a text. Like I want to receive a text and send, like,
You want to pay your invoice.
yeah, hey, I paid the bill using my Apple Pay.
Yeah, that's all part of the
What
solution.
is that technology? A lot of people wants to know, how is it possible in doctor's office that a patient calls and patient say, hey, is there any way you can send me, I don't have the statement in front of
Yeah,
me, can you send me a statement where I can pay it online?
correct. Yeah,
So
that's all part of our
walk me through
solution.
that process.
All part of our solution offering. So it's all there's a software that we use that allows for you to encompass that entire patient payment experience, and doesn't exactly have to be a medical offices. There's a lot of other
Any
businesses that we
business.
work with. Yep, they could do the software that we use encompasses that entire functionality, whether it's in person or over the phone on the website or a text to pay. It allows
Right.
for you to create an invoice and send it out, and then they can actually click that invoice and make that payment, whether it's mobilely or on the website. All has that capability.
Yeah, a lot of these mobile businesses who are always, small vendors doing some work for somebody like a plumber or anything, and they can send you a text and you can pay it right then and there.
Exactly. Yep. And then, like you mentioned, if you got the invoice as well, we give you the ability to go on to the website, whether it's a medical office or like you mentioned, a plumber, if they've got a website, we
Right.
can create a button for them to actually allow for their customers to go there and make a one-time payment. And then someone on the medical office's, their accounts receivable team would get notifications so then they can post that payment.
That's nice. Fantastic. Now, something I'm curious, because you are talking to HBMA, and HBMA is a consortium of billing companies, and most of our business comes from a doctor's office, but we directly talks to the patient. We are a bridge between a doctor's office and patients. So how does it work in that kind of three-way environment? Where does your solution sits? So doctor's office sign up for your services, I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing,
Yes,
and then billing companies use it on
correct.
their behalf. And billing companies may have hundreds of doctor's offices under them, and then thousands of patients. So tell me a little bit, how does this whole process works?
So you would actually the merchant, which would be the medical office, they would
Hmm.
create an account with us. Then
Hmm.
we would create the solution or the software, like we had mentioned, giving the ability to accept all types of payments. The medical office themselves, they could log in and then they can process those transactions.
Hmm.
But then, like you had mentioned, we can create another user account for the billing office to log in and process those payments in all forms as well. But then the billing office, you had mentioned, may have 100 different offices that they work with. We
Hmm.
can actually create an account for that billing office and then give them the ability to log into each different medical office that they're working with and log in and process those payments as well. So it's not like they have to log in 100 different times. They can have one dashboard, I call it, and log into each medical office and process those transactions. And like you had mentioned, when you talk about the fees, those fees would be associated with that particular medical office's account. It's not like the billing office is paying for it. It's each individual office and then getting deposited right into that medical office's bank account as if the medical office was just the one processing the transaction. So I
Now,
am
what about the online bill pay? So let's say if we are a medical billing company and we want to put something on our website for our patients to go online, pay their bill, would you guys create those identifiers for patients for
we
their
can
statements?
not the statements.
Or that has to be done our side, but you can allow people to pay online
We
using
could
the website?
We could, yes. And I work with multiple organizations that may have multiple locations. So we can create a drop down that
Hmm.
they could select maybe the facility that they're working with or the location they're looking for. So it can, again, process that payment through that particular account. So it's all associated with that particular merchant account. We don't want to
Mhm.
confuse anyone and have money going where it shouldn't be. So I'd be very hands on in that relationship to make sure that we're creating the perfect solution for them.
So, how do you see it moving forward? This whole industry is going. I mean, almost every third or fourth startup I talk to, or think about, it's happening in fintech industry. And people, the credit card processing, merchant account processing is a larger part of it. And either banks are moving towards it, healthcare industry, a lot of vendors are kind of coming together. How do you see next 5 years? And where do you see, especially your company, working on any of those innovations?
uh, the big transition through our industry has actually already occurred. The chip technology and that transition has already been happening for the last 5 to 7 years. And
Chip transition, you mean the credit card chip you said?
correct, yes,
Okay.
that's been the biggest
Yeah,
transition.
so I see these days now this Wi-Fi thing, right? That's what you're talking about?
That's that. It's called NFC. That's that capability that lets you tap your phone or tap your credit card.
Uh-huh.
That's the biggest, newest transition. The chip technology, that's still happening. There's a lot of gas stations. They haven't made that final push to make
Right.
that transition yet. That will be the final kind of to cross the
So
finish line.
like you tap 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 or Apple
Yeah,
Pay or
yeah. So that's the biggest thing. Like you had mentioned initially, the first question you'd ask about that dated technology, just having that credit card terminal there plugged in via dial. So now
right.
it's just getting them the ability to accept the chip cards, and now people want to have the ability to use their tap to pay. So they could just use their phone. You don't want to have to pull out your wallet, whatever it may be. You can use your phone. You can use your card. You'll see that little indicator. It looks like Wi-Fi. NFC, near field communication, allows you to use that technology. And then also the transition to get people to pay online. You may be sitting at home on the weekend and the person you're trying to pay or the office you're trying to pay isn't open. If they've got the capability for you to accept the payment on their website, it's going to make life a lot easier for everyone involved, whether it's you just paying your bill or that office, even though they're closed, accepting that bill, creating some efficiencies. That's that biggest transition is working with those types of industries and getting them to move forward to that type of technology. Excuse me.
Fantastic. Well, a lot of good things are happening. I really like talking to you about it, and I wish you all the best. I think we had some great conversation for HBMA members and non-members, everybody who's listening today. So thank you, Tim, and looking forward to working with you.
I appreciate it, Kunal. You have a good afternoon, sir.
Thank you so much. Um, well, so this was it for today's session, guys. Stay tuned. We have an amazing guest coming in our next session, and it is going to be on 19th of May. So next session will be regular Thursday, 12 o'clock noon, 19th of May. We have an amazing guest coming up. I again invite you in September for HBMA conference. You can find more details on hbma.org. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day, guys.